Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. My name is Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety. I'm so thrilled to welcome you to this Q&A with one of my favorite movies of the year, Nocturnal Animals. At this time, please join me in welcoming two of the very talented actors who appear in this story within the story. First, we have an actor you've seen in everything from Nowhere Boy and Anna Karenina to Avengers and Kick-Ass. Please welcome Aaron Taylor Johnson. Also joining us is an actor who has shown his range in everything from 99 Homes to Man of Steel to this year's Loving and Midnight Special. He's in 3 of the best movies of the year. He is, of course, a Tony Award nominee, an Oscar nominee, and a SAG Award winner. Thank you all for his work on Boardwalk Empire. Please welcome Michael Shannon. Thank you guys so much for being here. Congratulations on, I don't have enough adjectives to describe this movie. It's beautiful and disturbing and wonderful, and wonderful to look at. Because this is an audience of SAG actors, I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card?
Where did I get my SAG card? I think it was probably, it could have been for Kick-Ass, I believe, because yeah, I'm pretty sure it must have been going through, I couldn't quite remember. I mean, I know I was over here in Los Angeles doing a lot of casting at the time, but I think it's probably one of the first jobs where I probably needed it. Up until then, I was equity because I was from UK, so I think that was the changeover.
Do you mind if I ask, how old were you when you did that?
I did Kick-Ass?
Yeah.
Probably about 18, I suppose.
So like 2 years ago, basically.
Just come always back.
Michael?
It was on Groundhog Day.
That's right. I remember this. Yes. Were you a local hire on that?
Yeah.
In was it Chicago?
Yeah, they shot the movie in Woodstock, Illinois, but they cast a lot of the parts out of Chicago. A lot of the day players and stuff.
And what's the band you love? Is it Kiss? In the movie? Don't you win tickets to like a Kiss
No, I like WrestleMania.
WrestleMania? I'm such a girl. Do you like that? In my mind, WrestleMania and Kiss are the same thing.
Yeah.
So, on to Nocturnal Animals. How did you guys become aware of this project and what drew you to your respective roles?
Well, Tom asked to meet me. He was in New York. And yeah, I just went and met him over at the Carlisle Hotel. They had given me the script. My agents had given me the script. I'd kind of thumbed through it a little bit, and I found it pretty upsetting. I wasn't, you know, I'm a father with 2 young girls, so yeah, I wasn't quite sure whether I wanted to have anything to do with it, but Tom won me over. You know, he's such a smart, charming, insanely, you know, talented person that it's hard not to fall for him, you know.
And was it always for the role you ended up playing of Bobby?
Well, I think what happened is I said that's kind of the part that I would like to play. It was between, you know, obviously there's a lot of dudes in it, but that was it.
What I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you drink your coffee.
Come on, Jenelle.
But what was it about that role that attracted you?
I feel like Bobby's kind of like an angel, and he kind of stands for the instincts and impulses that we all kind of wish we had, and he's got a compass, even though it's he's a damaged person and he's very cynical, but if you scrape all that tartar away, underneath it all is a very genuine desire to see the right thing happen, you know, which in lieu of last night's events is I don't know, somewhat uplifting.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Ray.
The Donald Trump character.
Talking of psychopaths. moving on. Yeah, what a segue. I guess I was very. I got a call saying Tom was thinking of me for his second film, which was very flattering, and he sent through a script. Then I was I was quite surprised to come across, the character he had in mind for me, which I had the same kind of reaction, actually. I was very hesitant to dive into a role like this because I too am a father and I have kids, daughters, and so it was really only in discussing with him and sitting down with him and hearing his vision and what he thought about this character and what was the inspirations and how we could collaborate that drew me to wanting to go on that journey with him. And he spoke, like you said, so eloquently and elegant. So there's a blend there mixed in. He's elegant.
Tom Ford special.
Yeah.
Eloquent.
Yeah, he's very eloquent and has a beautiful way of expressing what he wants without being condescending or patronizing. And I instantly felt secure around him, and I put my trust in his hands, and that's kind of how we went on the journey.
And you had a pre-existing relationship, right? You were friends or acquaintances? Well,
yeah, I knew of Tom through my wife and a few dinners out and things like that. But I think I got to know him more so making this movie and had a more of an intimate kind of relationship because it was such. Always making a movie, it's very you all come together, especially on a film, an independent film, and when you're making something so intense like this, and especially for Tom, this is a passion project, and he spoke very close to his heart. So everyone's vulnerable and in that sort of place, so you stick together as a family. So I think we became closer making this movie, actually.
I mean, he is such a Renaissance man. I remember, this is only his second movie, and even his first movie, A Single Man, was so accomplished right out of the gate. He's a fashion designer, a producer, and now an amazing filmmaker. It's actually kind of frustrating, but what do you think makes him such a great director?
Well, I mean, he carries himself like a leader. I mean, the fact that he runs an empire anyway is, he's already very well immersed and experienced like that. I think it didn't feel like he was a second time, making his film for the second time. He felt like an experienced filmmaker. He knows exactly what he wants. He's very confident. He's got a strong eye for detail. He's very precise. He's in control, and it makes you feel secure. So. Yeah, it was kind of remarkable, really, how he does it. But
well, yeah, I mean, it's no coincidence that there was a bit of time between his first movie and his second movie. I think he takes making a movie very seriously. He wrote the script. He prepares very thoroughly. He kind of lives through the whole movie in his mind and his body. He lives through all the parts. And yeah, I had a real interesting experience with him one day because we were shooting a scene, and there's this weird kind of lull of about like 40 minutes, and we were all kind of standing around saying, "What's going on? Why aren't we shooting this?" And finally, someone comes over and says, "Tom's in the video village over here. He just wants to. Do you mind if you go talk to him just for a second?" I'm like, "Okay." And I go in, and he's like, "Michael, now the rehearsal was wonderful. It was very good. Now, when I wrote this scene, I imagined when I was kind of playing it in my mind that it was going to be like this, and that you were going to kind of be like this. Now what we just did, you were more like this, and I completely am willing to accept that you may be right. I am not saying that I know that I'm right. I'm just saying that but my impression of it is, and I was just wondering what your thought was about that. And he just kept waltzing around, but we had this most amazing conversation about the scene and the storyline as a whole, and how to build tension in a scene, and he was very, even though he had obviously really seen this in his mind so clearly. He was very willing to talk to me about it, and eager to talk to me about it. He wasn't placating me or like waiting for my mouth to stop moving. He was listening to what I was saying, and in the end, we found a great kind of compromise. But I don't really have that in depth of a discussion like that very often on a film set. I mean, the fact that he was willing to kind of stop everything. You know, there's tons of people standing around and have this kind of 20-minute conversation with me about the scene. I really admired that.
Do you remember what scene it was?
Oh, I would never tell you.
I'm curious because you're both sort of known for doing a lot of research for your roles. Was there any specific research you took on for this character?
No, not at all. I'm not, in terms of playing like police, you hear sometimes people say, yeah, I went on a ride around and I saw a crime scene, all these things. But the thing is we're so inundated with police culture and our culture as it is that I don't really feel the need to do that. I feel like I've seen countless police reenactments over the course of my lifetime. And plus, this is such it's kind of a myth or a fable. It's not, I didn't feel like it was essential that I do everything exactly the way somebody would do it. It was more about the symbolism of the characters. The main preparation I did is I went out and got this huge Hank Williams collection, and I listened to that every day on the way to work.
And Aaron, for you?
Yeah, like what you said, I mean, it's this story within a story, that fictional story gave us a realm to be, it was a heightened reality. It was able to, there was a sort of creative licensing. We could be slightly, well, especially for my character, Tom wanted something quite bold, elaborate, magnetic, kind of larger than life. So that was always a nice kind of get out with those kind of things that you're saying. So, but yeah, I had a luxury of 3 months prior to making the movie where Tom asked me to grow my hair out and my fingernails and drop weight and things like that. And in that time, I was studying serial killers and psychopaths, and accumulating that kind of knowledge wasn't very pleasant. A lot of sleepless nights, and that's where we kind of started to. For me, I needed to kind of ground that character in reality because it was so heightened. So I would, focus on people such as Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. The Jinx was out at the time. I'd watch documentaries. I'd read books. People ask, do you watch other thriller movies or things like that? That doesn't. I need to watch, documentaries, real things that, not reenactments of these kind of guys, but really try and find mannerisms or look into the kind of the soul of these sort of people. So,
I'm glad you mentioned the fingernails because I noticed that. Yes, they were.
That's kind of, that's the sort of length that Tom would go to. 3 months prior to making this movie, he said, he kind of already envisioned the tapping of the fingernails on top, of the car, or the feeling that he's. And he said, and I said, well, what's the reasoning? Is he just why? He said, well, maybe he's a guitar player. Maybe he's a guitar player, and then you see when he's sitting outside, there's a guitar in the corner by the loo, and the loo's outside because he's like. He's a plumber, and he's like, that goes with his arrogance, his ego that he kind of put it, and then he's got the green cowboy boots. And, these are little characteristics that Tom would build, and we'd do it together and validate with true kind of, we could back it up with real character. It would relate to that character. So,
we actually have a question from the audience, and again, I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name, but I think it's Jordy Kaler. Right there, cool. Wants to know, when you're filming intimate or emotional moments, how are you able to deal with the camera being in your personal space?
Just generally, or?
Well, I think, that's a drag, no doubt about it. but it's got to be there. It freaked me out for a long time. But then, it's been like 25 years, and then you start to realize that it's your friend, the camera wants to help you if you're not afraid of it, and if you understand how it works, and it's not like posing or any of that stuff, but it's a very neutral thing, the camera. It's not trying to mess with your head. It's just trying to let the whole world see your brilliant acting. So just be zen about it, I guess.
You go back and forth from stage to film and TV so frequently. Is there a difference for you between film acting and stage acting? Do you find you have to adjust?
Well, film acting is more of a grind, I mean, film acting is it's like mining or something. It's trying to find something worth a damn. With doing a play is more like surfing. You ride the wave, you catch the wave, you ride the wave. The adrenaline goes. I mean, what we're doing in this movie, particularly like with me and Jake and Aaron, it's brutal. It was brutal days, long days. It was hot, and we don't. None of us are anything like the characters we're playing. So it's we're all just kind of nice guys trying to help each other out. But you got to keep going back to this place, and then and then they say cut, and you gotta walk around the desert and smoke a cigarette for 10 minutes, and then go do it again. It's just like wearing a clutch out on a car or something, But it's tricky.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it was intense, and like you said, you want to do the best job you can, and that's to stay focused and in that mindset, constant. And I think that psychologically just takes a toll on your body, and by the end, you physically end up slightly crippled, by some it's a PTSD. It's like a trauma by the end of it. The sort of some of the stuff that Jake and I had to go through, I had to provoke him and manipulate him and keep it fresh and new every time, so they capture something different. So we're improvising, we're finding different ways to wind each other up, and likewise Shannon was remarkable to work with, because he would keep in between takes, keep to himself, and keep that very close to his chest, and then when the camera was on, it'd be explosive, it would all come out. And that made our job just so much more better, because we were just able to just react. I mean, it was guttural and instinctive. I mean, the way that your process is beautiful, and it elevated Jake and our performances on a daily basis, because you don't want to be rehearsing and talking about these things all the time, but yeah, in between takes, you go your separate ways. You keep in that mindset, and it's toxic. It's intense. It's dark, man.
I always kind of wonder, and since I have you guys here, and this may seem silly, but remember, I'm not an actor, so indulge me. When you have to do those, that day is coming, and you're going to be doing that really intense scene, and is there a palpable atmosphere on the set? Like when you see each other, it's like this is the day that he kills you, or you kill someone. I mean, they yell cut and you just kind of say like, good job, or?
At the end of the day, I'd shake, Jake's hand, give him a hug and say, well done. And, because I know that half of the shit that we did was pushing each other to the brink. So, I'll do that out of respect, because like you said, we're all nice guys, and, we're there to do a job, and because we're passionate and we're professionals. But in between that, no, I don't break. I'll stay in my accent, I'll stay in my mindset. I want to,
Yeah, in terms of that, like, ultimate scene, like, oh, we're doing that scene today, you don't want it to feel too much, it doesn't really behoove you to show up and feel like today's today, I mean, the thing is like, with this movie, a lot of the scenes were like that. You know, most of the scenes, something pretty major was going on. So, obviously, the last scene between Jake and Aaron is kind of takes the cake. But, yeah.
When you saw the movie, was there a part of you that was sort of mad you didn't get to be in the Amy Adams world, drinking wine and like having the nice house?
No, like, this is just no.
We have another question from Hilty and Mark. Wants to know, you are both accomplished and respected actors in your own right. Oh, but we're curious to know what you learned from each other during your work on the film.
Well, I think I already expressed, a little just then about, working with Michael. I think, it's remarkable for me, I think, to have, and this is one of the major why I wanted to do the job, was to work with Michael, Shannon, and Jake Gyllenhaal, and have those kind of scenes, have those contradicting kind of scenes, and have all those kind of, that argumentative kind of tension, but as an actor and as a young actor and constantly learning in the craft, you're observing always and taking these great moments and remembering them for when the next job comes in, and the more I get to work with such remarkable, talented actors like Michael and work with great filmmakers under that helm, it only elevates what I can do, and I have to go deeper and pull new stuff out. I got to keep. It just keeps me on my toes, and I don't know. I'm it was inspirational working with Michael, and I mean, he's phenomenal in the movie, right? I mean, he's fucking incredible. Like,
thanks. Yeah, I really loved. I really admired Aaron's approach to this role. I think a lot of people, if you stop and think for a second, if they had this tossed in their lap, their primary concern would probably be being scary or being intimidating or being mean. And the thing I really loved about Aaron's approach is he constantly was searching for the joy in the character, and and what the character was getting out of what he was doing, which is really important, because like that, at the end of the day, that's what's truly horrifying. It's hard to act scary. I mean, we're actors. None of us are really that scary, but to really go through the whole equation of and I could always see the moments. It was like an electrical thing where Ray would get some satisfaction out of something that had just happened, and it was felt very deeply by Aaron, which is honestly, I think, a very brave thing to do, to experience that satisfaction in an authentic way, because that means you're really empathizing with the character.
And because this movie does look so beautiful, I think a lot of people don't realize that it is an independent movie, and you had a pretty tight budget. Can you say what the shooting schedule was? Or maybe you don't know. I
think I remember Tom saying recently that I think it was probably a 32, maybe 36-day shoot. So I remember I was probably on it for maybe only 3 weeks possibly. Can't remember.
It's hard to say from beginning in, because we started with the book part. So we shot the book, basically, and that was like maybe 4 weeks. It had to do with Jake's beard. And then we had to start with all the stuff where he had a beard. And then he shaved, and then we did the rest of the book, and then they switched to the LA part, which I didn't, I was gone. I don't know how long that took. I mean, Amy's very hard to work with, so it probably took longer than it should have, probably.
You probably should have killed her when you had the chance.
Yeah.
And how many days did you shoot the gripping 17-minute-long car scene?
Yeah, that was over three nights. I mean, overall, maybe it was five days, because with the whole sort of car chase shooting, but essentially that one scene from opening the door and then driving off was three nights, and they were intense, man. Yeah.
I mean, you might have just answered this question, but for each of you, what ended up being the most difficult part of making the movie, or most difficult scene?
I'd probably just say that one. I mean, it was challenging because the geography of it, in a sense of like who was where, who, you know, we had to get people out of the car here, they needed these people over here, and by the end, you know, the choreography of that scene was kind of pretty hard to assemble, especially when, you know, we're all, our dynamic in each of our characters were all over the place, and so and a lot of it was improvised, and a lot of it was just trying to keep something new and fresh, and that was pretty ultimately challenging, and it's the crux of the movie. You know, we shot that, you know, you had to get that right. It was essential piece of the movie. It's the heartbreak of the movie.
And for you?
Well, I don't know if it was specifically for me, but it was a difficult scene in general. When we bring the fellas back to my place and then they run away, and that scene in the parking lot just outside my house, where Jake's character Tony finally breaks down after I shoot Carl. That was a long night. We did that a lot of times, a lot of different ways, and I just watched Jake like eviscerate himself. I mean, to the point where he literally, it was all gone. Like, he was just completely, his eye, he had a 1,000-yard stare. I'd just never seen anybody push themselves that hard. So it was hard to watch, and you know, but I was proud of him for doing it. Yeah.
I'm actually curious. I forgot to mention. Oh, sure.
Phenomenal scene.
This is based on a novel called Tony and Susan. Did either of you read the novel prior to shooting, or?
No, and Tom said it really wasn't necessary. You know, Tom adores the book, obviously, but he took a few liberties when he wrote the screenplay. I mean, I asked him, I said, should I read it? And he said, it's really, I don't think it would help you much to read it, so I didn't.
I had the same thing. I was actually halfway through the book and said, I mentioned to him, I said, I'm halfway through, and he said, well, stop. I don't want you to read it anymore. And I said, yeah, why? And he said, look, I've already adapted it to, I already got out what I need, and this is the script we're going to make, so the rest of it, you know, your character's changed a bit, like, as in sense of, it's now set in West Texas, and you're younger than the character, and we can create that together, so it's very much the same. And I loved that, actually. It just felt like he was already building that trust right there and then. It was like, no, just don't worry, you don't need to do that. I've already done it for you. So it started from there, really.
Finally, because we do have so many actors here, and because this can be a very grueling, difficult business, I would be remiss in not asking if you know, if you ever thought of doing something else, and sort of what got you through those tough moments and kept you acting.
Well, I guess, I mean, this probably sounds a little disingenuous to say, but when I started acting in Chicago, I wasn't very career-oriented. I didn't really care if I made any money or if anybody even saw what I was doing. I just had to do it. And so I did a lot of odd jobs to get by, but I didn't have like a plan to move out here or try and hit it big, you know. I just kept doing it, and then eventually I did something that a lot of people wanted to see, and it helped get me to this point, you know.
Was that Bug?
Well, before Bug, Killer Joe.
Killer Joe, yeah.
Yeah, I did Killer Joe in Chicago, and then we went to England, and then next thing I knew, I was in New York doing it, and after that I came to LA. So lucky me.
Aaron?
Very much kind of the same, odd jobs here and there. I think, I've done my fair share of crap, and I think I made a lot of bad choices along the way, but I think that's kind of only inhibited and made my path stronger as to what I do and don't like, what I've experienced, what you do want to get out of it, But I started when I was young, so and it was on stage. I was 6 years old, and so I did a lot of theatre in the West End, in London, TV, even commercials when I was a kid. That kind of, and there were obviously years where I wasn't, able to. There was a period of time when I wasn't working a lot, and actually I found it very difficult. I guess it was my adolescence, sort of the transition of, I felt very self-destructive, almost the idea of continuing, and the more successful it would go. I had a really hard time about actually this side of the job. Mm-hmm. Like I thoroughly, from an early age, fell in love with the passion of acting, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I love characters. I love I'm more comfortable in characters than I am when I'm myself, and especially the promotional side of it is something I've had to learn over those years. But I struggled a lot with it, just before kind of taking Kick-Ass era, and just before that and after that, it was a sort of a hard transition. And you turn down jobs, and I want to, there is a moment where it was interesting to see whether it would continue or not, and but I pulled through, I guess, and sort of matured and understood, the balance. I think there's a fine balance of being able to do, I don't think everyone can do both, I think egos get away with you, and people lose who they really are and things like that. And if you haven't got grounding or love and support in your life, your family or loved one, then this job can be pretty brutal, and you can lose sight of yourself, I think,
And I do want to remind everyone that the movie opens this month. If you liked it, go pay to see it again.
When's it come out? When's it come out?
It's November 25th, I think. November 18th.
There you go, November 18th.
But go see it on the 25th also, because it's a good day. I want to congratulate you guys on such a fantastic movie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jenelle.
Thanks,
everybody.
Staying behind and listening. Thank you.